Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a Democrat of Texas, who launched her run for Senate in the state earlier this month, and she joins me now. Congresswoman, it's good to see you. Do you agree with that as we head into what will be an election year, a very pivotal one, that issue remains number one to voters above everything else?
Absolutely. I mean, we just got through Christmas, and I'm looking to see what the numbers are going to look like as it relates to spending and to see what the numbers look like. Were they up? Were they down? But right now, as I go around, especially as I've been talking to my seniors, they are so very concerned because the cost of rent is going up, and it seems like their checks aren't going up. And people are really, really scared about what we know is about to happen as it relates to the healthcare cliff as well. And it seems like this administration and the Republicans are not interested in doing anything to make healthcare more affordable in this country.
Yeah, that'll be the first big thing to hit in the new year. It's the one place. I mean, I think there's two places where you can really say the president is responsible for higher costs, like directly. One of them is tariffs. He's put tariffs on. People are paying tariffs. That's on him. And one of them is healthcare. They could have passed an extension of the subsidies. They haven't. There's some interesting data about enrollment in the ACA. People were a little worried that the subsidies expiring would take enrollment down. It looks like that hasn't happened so far. But what it does mean is that households just eat the cost, which they're going to see in the new year. I wonder how much you think that will be an enduring issue in that first month when Congress is back.
I think it's going to be an issue. I mean, at least for me here in Texas, obviously Texas leads in uninsured in the country. We already have 5 million that are uninsured. Yep. We have close to 4 million people that actually are on the marketplace. And we know that close to 90% of those that are on the marketplace actually have the benefit of that tax subsidy. What I've been encouraging people to do is, hey, don't listen to the Democrats or the Republicans on this issue. What you guys should do is just go ahead and call your health insurance provider and ask them what your new premiums are going to look like. And I think that that's going to tell the story. But I do want to go back to what you said about the tariffs. One of the things I don't think that we've really emphasized enough is the impact that the tariffs have had on our small businesses as well as our farmers and ranchers. Right now, we know that right here in the state of Texas, Tyson's is actually shutting down one of their plants. And we saw this happen in Nebraska as well, where they shut down because they typically do beef production. And so because beef production is down, and a lot of this has to do with, you know, us sending $40 billion over to Argentina and Argentina beefing up their beef as it relates to the entirety of the supply and the tariffs that are on our own goods. So we have a record number of farmers and ranchers that are filing for bankruptcy, but the ripples for that means those that are working in those processing plants. It also means those grocery stores, and it also means that those prices for all of the consumers are going up. But in addition to that, obviously, our small businesses are really struggling, those that engage in trade in any way.
Yeah, the tariff story is interesting to me because in some ways, even as a professional whose job it is to follow the story, it is a very hard story to follow because there's the quote unquote reciprocal tariffs, there's regional tariffs, there's sort of punitive tariffs to certain countries he doesn't like Brazil because they're prosecuting an ex-president who tried to foment an insurrection and he hates them for that. There's the bilateral talks with China. There's individual products that he jacked up and he put down. So you can very much get lost in where we are with them. What has been striking to me, and I'm curious what you think, how much it has stuck with voters in their perception. Like, it is really telling to me that in almost every poll you run, the thing he's weakest on isn't just the economy, but specifically on policy. It is the tariffs as the least popular part of this president's agenda.
Yeah, I think it's because people finally understand that these are taxes that we're paying for, right? Like, I don't think, especially if you're a traditional Republican, you usually are anti-tax. So the idea that, you know, you've got this Republican president and all he's doing is adding taxes for people at a time when they're struggling. I mean, you know, we haven't talked about housing costs either, but when you start to go down this rabbit hole, it does go pretty deep. We know that the vast majority of a lot of the wood that we get when we're looking at building homes and things like that, the lumber, we get that right out of Canada, right? But he decided to randomly pick a fight with Canada. So, you know, the ripples as it relates to the tariffs are very real, but I think that most people are just like, listen, this costs me more money, so it must be the tariffs. And I think that that is a very simple kind of connection instead of going down the rabbit hole.
I think that's a great point, because I think what's happened is people know about the tariffs and they know that, and they don't like how much money they're paying for things. And so by announcing the tariffs, it's like you've almost claimed credit for every price increase throughout the economy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he continues to say, hey, we're going to give you a refund check for the tariffs. And I just want to remind people that he had promised people that they were going to get a $5,000 check when it came to Doge. And, well, those checks never arrived. And then he announced that there were going to be the tariff checks. And, well, those checks, too, haven't arrived. And then he announced that he was going to do something for our service members. And I don't know if those checks are arriving or not. But he claimed that it was out of the tariffs. And yet again, it was not going to be out of the tariffs. He was going to take more money that had already been designated and appropriated specifically for our service members and just readjust the pocket of money that it was coming from. So, I mean, I think that people are understanding that it's not good to have a con man as the commander in chief. And people are frustrated because they know that the cost of everything is going up. Not to mention, we have people like the Secretary of Education that wants to downgrade certain degrees and make it more difficult for those that have certain degrees that they've earned to be able to make the living that they need or to be able to support themselves. So it's just right now he's just compounding issues. And I know that you mentioned the Great Depression, and yeah, we're not there yet, but there are estimates from experts that think that we are on track. I mean, we've lost 1.1 million jobs since he swore in just in January. It has not been a full year. And when we look at these elections that have taken place, whether we're looking at November 4th or whether we're looking at these special elections, I think what you're seeing is people are signaling that they are not happy with anything that is going on, whether it's the tariffs or the other policies that are making it more difficult for our economy to sustain itself.
This next year is going to be an interesting one in Congress for a bunch of reasons. One, it will be officially an election year. Two, there was a plan hatched by Donald Trump and Mike Johnson and a bunch of Republicans in the state houses to sort of, voter-proof the Republican majority by using aggressive gerrymandering to make it so that, Democrats could not win back the House, that voters couldn't reject Republican rule. That's in much worse shape after after California passed its redistricting effort. What do you think? How early do you think the cracks are going to show in the House leadership when Congress is back in session? They were already starting to show at the beginning of the year, but what do you think about how much more pressure Johnson will be under when you guys are back in session?
Yeah, I think it's looking really bad for him. But listen, I didn't expect him to last this long, so kudos to him. He's lasted longer definitely than the last speaker that they had. So, I mean, that's something to be proud of. But I really don't know. I mean, from, the frustration over the Epstein files and the cracks that we've seen there to the number of people that have just decided that they want to retire because, as has been noted, this has actually been the most unproductive Congress that we've had in decades. And that is saying a lot because the last Congress was the most unproductive in quite some time. But it really means that much more when you're talking about the fact that the Republicans control both chambers as well as the White House, and they still can't get things done. And so, obviously, the things that they have gotten done, they are disastrous, from the big ugly bill, in which we will feel the full effects of that, coming up right until the midterms. And then the fact that when we go back in, we're facing another shutdown come January 31st. Every time I'm flying, I'm talking to TSA workers and I'm telling them, please put something back. Right. Please be prepared, because I don't believe that these people are actually going to govern. So, I think that that's another thing that may end up hitting them really hard. And depending on how Johnson handles this pending shutdown, I think that this may be the final nail in his coffin.